So it's Jake and it's James.
Judgy James. Put on your sunscreen.
I got him. We're gonna do a fence today. We got 20 acres to go. Check out this reel system here. We're gonna see how that works. We got loaded up here in the side-by-side, most of the stuff we're gonna need. Wish us luck. We'll keep you posted along the way. Judgy James. Okay, so the old Topsy way was to do a ground wire on the top and on the bottom, and we're not doing that anymore. Why, James?
Well, we've made the system efficient and we don't really have a grounding issue, so putting a ground on top and bottom is only asking for potential problems. So we're just going to run the entire thing hot, and the great thing about this is that if we ever find in the future we need more grounding and we need it to be on the fence, we can switch that up.
So most of this property has only 4 electric lines, and what we found is that four lines works pretty well when the sheep don't want to be on the other side. But as soon as they get into their little woolly minds that they want to be on the far side, they basically just start jumping over, and then the rest will crash through the gate. So we're going with 5 lines here. Is this what's recommended?
Yeah, typically anywhere from 4 to 6 wires is recommended for sheep, depending on predation. But since this is an internal fence,
Okay.
yeah, 5 wires is going to be perfect to keep the sheep in, especially the strong-willed ones that learn from Jake here.
Yeah.
So what we're going to be doing is, typically on a fence, start one wire, walk it to the end, start the second wire, walk it to the end. But Jake has created an ingenious way of getting all 5 wires done at the same time. So what we're going to do is, we've already got our cable tie corner insulators, and we've got our cable tie strain insulators at the other end. And so what we're going to do is we're going to attach all 5 wires here, drive the tractor to the other end, and then attach each one individually. Yeah.
Boom. There we go.
Wire tying is an art. You know, it takes a little while to get used to it. The main point is that once we get this in, we have enough wire. You want to make that bend so that it will sit nicely in there and kind of lock it in place. And then you just twist opposite so that now you have it locked right there. Make yourself a handle, hold on to the insulator, and then just start doing your twists. And you want them as tight as possible, minimum of 3. Once you get to that point,
Now, this is the coolest part.
you twist it backwards and then opposite, and it just snaps right off.
Look at that.
No rough edges, nothing for the sheep to catch on.
Look how cute that is. It's very demure.
Always make sure you have a bucket for your scraps nearby. You don't want to just throw these on the ground, then your animals are going to eat it, play with it, and you're going to have injuries and potential mortalities.
Oh, and we just put one of those through a lawnmower tire.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
I just wanted to say a quick word about these, the cable insulators here. This is so much faster than wrapping each one by itself with the wire. So much faster. I was able to do this entire field in an hour and a half, getting this ready for us to string out the wire today. All right, you're on.
So, we got our handy dandy tape measure here. So, with sheep fencing, I typically go a foot between each and a foot from the ground. Gives you your 4 feet high if you're doing 4 wires, and then you can kind of play with that in between when you start adding some wires. Now, again, because we don't necessarily have to worry about predation, we can put these a lot lower. So on this internal fence, we've gone 6 inches, 12 inches, 18, 24, and 36. You can go more, you can go less. The reason why we've done this is it's kind of combining an electric psychological barrier along with a physical one. So they shouldn't want to try because they have a visible barrier, but even if they do try, they cannot get their heads in between here to even test it out. When an animal gets their head in between, cow, sheep, goats, anything, if they get a shock in the back of the head, they want to go forward. That just means they're going to get entangled. It means that they're going to rip some fencing down. It means that one might get out and then the rest are going to try. So we always want to get the shock to happen in the chest or the nose so that they back up. When you're setting these heights, you can absolutely set them after you've run all the wires before you put the tension on. However, with longer lengths, you would have quite a bit of weight on the wire, so it might not be as easy. So to save some headache, you can absolutely put a steeple in each one of these just to hold it up.
Cool. What about a staple? Would that be good too?
Whatever you call them, that's good.
So if you're gonna try this setup at home, a couple of things that I learned on my first go through was, one, connect each one at a time. Two, make sure that you know which one is which. This is our top line, this is our bottom line. I screwed that up before. Okay, so the other part is don't cut it unless you are ready to clamp it, because this whole thing will half unspool. Clipped it with our nice pliers here. Ah, shit. It's fine. That one was fine. It's the roll that you don't want to lose. So just clamp that on, and it will hopefully keep it from unspooling until we can...
You can just bend it through the circle too.
Yeah. Too funny. That'll be a good blooper.
So Jake let go of the right one because, as you can see, it didn't go far. It wouldn't have tangled everything up because he only did one at a time. And now he can bring it right back. If he had let that go, the entire spool would have had no tension left and would have completely unraveled. Either way, it's why safety first, pants, eyeglasses, all of the time. One thing to remember when you grab your wire to put into the ratcheting strainer, a wrench. You can use the Gallagher pliers. Gallagher also has a tool meant for it. It goes over the top of the whole thing, bars right here, and ratchets it up. But if you forget that, then you're not going to be able to put any tension on, and the wire might slip back out. So you don't want to take all the tension out with, try and do it with your body. You're never going to be able to. But you definitely don't want to have a whole ton of slack because there's only so much wire that can go on here. So I just kind of pull it until it's at that point, cut behind my hand, again, because we don't want this to shoot off into nothingness. That excess, keep it. You can use it for just about anything, you know, retying this, creating some patches, but also attaching all of your wires at either end together. You can see that it didn't just spring anywhere. I always poke one end into the dirt just so that it stays right there and not looking for it later. Once we've got this, we're going to take our pliers, we're going to make a big L. It's always better to have more material than less. We just slide it right in. And always make sure that you go top to bottom because you're wrapping it this way. If you do it the other way, it's just going to slip right out. Now you just take your pliers, cut as close in as you possibly can.
Oh, to get that little tail gone.
Just get that little tail gone, and then start ratcheting.
Okay, that I didn't do my first time with this.
Okay, one's done. We're not taking all the tension out yet until we have done all of our line posts.
Okay, that's good.
You definitely want to have something on here to hold it.
Cool. Again, I could not believe how much time was saved with these the cables.
So this is why I did this. So this is why you cut your tail. See how it blocked it right there?
Yep. So what's the next step here, Judgy James?
So next step is putting in our line posts. Now, again, we have two different ways of doing this that I recommend. Either we put all the line posts down and then we come back doing all the clips, or we do one post at a time, clips at a time. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. Either way, you're going to be dealing with a lot of weight of wire. So it just depends on how your style of management of a project you want to go with.
So since there's two of us, is there one of those ways that is now more efficient because a second set of hands?
Yes, and one problem is I am always used to a farmer does stuff by themselves, but it's always better to have a buddy or have someone, a worker, someone helping you. Um, more hands make less work. So what I think we should do is I'll have Jake go along, pound posts in, and then I'll follow up with all the clips.
He gives me the heavy work.
Of course.
All right.
Why not?
Wish us luck. Yeah, this thing is so much lighter than our existing post pounder. Pretty good.
So, spacing of our insulated line post. Let me grab one over here. These posts replace thin cedar posts, T-posts. You can space them farther apart. They're more durable, rigid. So if we're talking wood posts, these will last longer instead of rotting. In terms of T-post, if you have snow load, if you have an animal run through it, if you hit it with a tractor or anything like that, these guys will bend and then come back. And I will show a better demonstration when we pound one in. But these things are fiberglass interior, nylon exterior, makes it flexible but rigid. So, all that being said, distance spacing. The spacing that I recommend in Eastern Canada is 30 to 45 feet. Flatter land, 45. More rolling, curved, 30. You can do a difference of spacing throughout the whole thing. So as we can see, it's flat here. So we're going to start with 45 feet. As we get to the crest and go around the trees, we are going to reduce that to 30 and maybe even 20 feet. I've actually seen some influencers in the US put these in a golf bag and then just pull them out like it's a quiver.
Brilliant. Like your Casey Jones from the Ninja Turtles. That's a deep cut reference right there. 1, 2. Am I screwing up your steps? So talk out what you're counting here.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I was just doing 45 feet, so I was doing 15 paces. Now I'm down to 30 because we're going over this crest. So,
and then it
10
starts.
paces.
Then it starts the dog leg.
Yep. So all the way down here, we're probably going to do about 20, 25. So I'll do 7 paces and.
It's a Topsy 7-step program.
One thing that I like to mention is if we're doing curves, you don't necessarily need more wood posts or H braces. Now, it will give it more strength going around that curve, but we don't need to add all that different material around a small curve. So anything less than 15 degrees, I say just space some posts closer together and you can go around the tree. So Gallagher post pounder, insulated line post pounder, it's a little bit thinner than your average post pounder. However, a regular post pounder is fine to use as well. If you have a gas-powered, pneumatic, whatever post pounder, we sell a sleeve that goes over these posts so that you're not losing a whole bunch in the flex, and so you can use that gas-powered post pounder. Now, before we smack, we need to make sure that these are lined up with our fence. These posts only go one of 2 ways, either this way or that way. If not, you can't put the clips on to hold the wire, so you need the notches to be parallel with your wire. A lot of people, doesn't matter what post you're putting, the biggest mistake I see, and Judgy James judges, is when people do this. Yeah, it looks about straight, because now you've moved the thing, you're waving back and forth, you have no idea if it's straight or not. The wire is here as your guide. See these wires on the ground? Don't even move them. Just put it right there. Boom, you're good to go.
Is this an aesthetic thing, or is the strength of the fence dependent on how straight your line is?
The straighter the better, in terms of, it doesn't matter if you do a dog leg, but you have to continue that curve. If you're wavy, now you got posts pulling into each other as you put tension on it.
So it's not just about looking good,
Correct.
but you look real good in that plaid shirt.
I mean, yes, and also you do want your fence to look a little bit better, but we're way in the bush here, so it doesn't really matter.
Nice.
All right, give her. So after 2 smacks, we're in a little bit. Now, if we're leaning a little bit like we are, we can absolutely push on the post to straighten it out and then just keep going.
How's that?
It's good.
And does that star thing, like, as soon as that hits the ground, we're done?
Yep, exactly. So as soon as you have the base on the ground, you're good. So you only have to put these shorter guys 18 inches in and the taller posts 24 inches in. So, top and bottom of these posts have polycarbonate. And so that allows us to hit rocks, hit it with the post pounder and having no issues, you know, all that steel right there. So Jake just smacked it in and instantly hit a rock, so it twisted. Now you can either reset, try again, or you can move it left or right a little bit. Sometimes you're just gonna hit a rock and it's gonna twist. That's part of fencing. I mean, like in reality, you're doing 5 hits, 6 hits. We're gonna start with 1.
We're getting our steps in today.
So, basic, simple math. We got 20 posts on this line. We've got 5 wires. There's 20 insulators per bag. So, we don't even have to do the multiplication and division. We just need 5 bags. Now, these insulators are awesome. You don't need any tools with it. You don't need to bring anything with you. You just clip right in.
And do you want to demonstrate how bendable these posts are?
Yep. Is this still 1 shot, or are you doing a second?
1 shot, baby.
Watch out.
Nice.
Oh, it's Judgy James. Judgy James swears all the time.
Yeah. That's why he's the man to watch.
Am I making this worse?
Oh, nothing will make you madder than wire. And nothing wants to poke your eye out faster than wire.
Like, picture your ear pods, your earbuds, whatever. When you wrap them and put them nicely away and then they're all fucked later. It's like 100 times worse.
Yeah, because we're dealing with a kilometer of something.
That's 170,000 PSI strength to it. So it's not like you can get mad and just rip it apart and huck it across the ring, you know?
How much finger strength does this take?
Like nothing. Now, don't feel bad if you can't do it first shot. I've been doing this quite a long time. It's called experience, kids.
Boom. Look at that.
6, 12, 18, roughly 24, 36.
No sheep is going to go through that when the power's on. Boom. One of the things we use these empty bags for are for like sorting out nuts and screws or putting in those little offcuts of wire.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
That's right. Now, would you recommend something like a pouch to carry those?
Oh,
do you
100%.
do you have like a sling that you use?
Nope. I don't do manual labor. I make other people do it, other than when I'm doing these videos.
This
so
is just
anything.
a special occasion.
No, in all honesty, so being ex-military, I like my chest pouches. So I have tactical pouch goes on my chest. I can grab them easily. Put my phone on there, a whole bunch of other stuff. But I mean, having a tool belt, one of the ones that's like for just the drywallers, like just 2 bags for, is good.
So what he's doing here is just making sure he's got the right next wire.
So they were all tangled, which is why.
That's why we
at the beginning.
That's why we do this methodically.
Yeah. Skip.
These are the tips that having a pro demonstrate are really crucial. Because like I'm learning stuff right now. And definitely those ways of when you get to the end and crap, now you have to spend an extra hour like fixing something that you screwed up at the beginning. It takes a little more time to walk back and grab each line, but
if you didn't do it, then you'd be spending a ton more time. And you only have to do it right away, you know, at first shot.
Yeah. Isn't that right, Alice in Chains? Okay. Right, grunge.
Okay, so we've gotten here, and now it's, I haven't done the spacing right now. I did that on purpose, so we could teach you guys something. So just guesstimating adds stuff, you know, time. So really, you should grab your tape measure and measure everything. So I'm gonna go grab my tape measure now, and I'm gonna measure everything. But first, I'm gonna put this clip on, just so that I know which one's the next one to be done. So now that we've got all of our posts, all of our wires, all the wires are clipped to the posts, it's time to put the tension on the fence. So as you can see, it's all wavy, droopy.
All right.
So ask that question again.
Hey, James, does it matter which height we start with?
Yes and no. You can start with whichever one you want, but if you start with the bottom one, you will have to adjust less.
Interesting.
So if you start with the top one and you put a ton of tension on it, it will pull back, and then if you put the bottom one, you're getting less and less tension. So I like to start at the bottom. It's also the hardest one to do, so work gets easier as you go.
And we started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yep, good.
Just start out until you don't want to be able to play a note with it. Eh?
No, but you don't want it to have any slack, and then it's... going.
So next question, this is will be electrified, correct?
Yep, correct.
Okay, so and we don't want that.
That's why this part here is an insulator.
Okay, so how do we address this?
That it's going to potentially touch.
Yeah.
So, because it's touching here and we don't have the distance to put, you know, something at that height, we can adjust it by pushing it down and putting it in the insulator, or we can just put an insulator right there to keep a distance.
Comme ça.
Just like that, just as a spacer.
Cool.
So now it's got its spacer insulating it from the post.
And we're not lowering it down. That's at our
Correct.
height that we want. Okay.
So a big thing that people forget when they're making H braces, A braces, or whatever, and then putting their wire on, is that they're gonna need wood post insulators here, no matter what posts they use.
What sort of line loss would you expect from the wires touching that? I guess when it's dry, it's different.
You could lose minimal to pretty much everything. Depends on how wet it is. Depends on the material, the wood, what's exposed. Yeah.
So when I go to do more of these, I'm gonna bring my drill.
Cool.
Is that...
You know how we always say use 8-inch posts? See how like he's barely grabbing anything? That's why. Gotta love that sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the nails are thicker than the fucking wood. So Jake asked an excellent question, which many farmers will ask. The answer should be obvious, but it's not necessarily, so don't feel bad. This wire is not touching this post. So do we need to put an insulator here? The answer is yes, because stuff shifts over time. Animals could press on it. Branch could grow into it. You know, anything can happen that would then make those connect. So let's build it right the first time, not have problems later. So, he's having some difficulty hitting any wood with his nails because he didn't use an 8-inch post, like we recommend. So,
Just be a little short.
play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Okay, so we have a line of fencing. We have our high strain insulators at the other end. We have our strainer insulators here. We've got our wood post insulators stopping the wire from touching our brace. And we've got our line posts holding the weight of the wire all the way down. The reason why we build these in sections instead of just looping everything around is because if one of these trees have a branch that falls down and breaks one of these wires, it's only this section that's down, not the rest of the fence. So at the end of the day, we've done a section of fence from A to Z, or A to Z for my American friends, and
It didn't take that
move
long.
on to the next one. It didn't take long at all. I mean, honestly, let me look at the time. It's 1:30. We started around 11:30, and we took a half hour for break.
Yeah.
So 350 meters
Yeah.
of fencing took us to, while stopping to film and doing
Yeah.
a bunch of other stuff, about an hour and a half.
That's really not bad at all.
Like, super quick and easy.
And like, yes, the pounding of the line posts takes energy, but then you move on to the clips and you get a chance to rest before doing that again.
Correct. And then you're running wire again, and
Yeah.
then you're doing step by step, one thing at a time, breaking it all down so it doesn't get overwhelming, and so that you know that you're doing every step correctly. You've done one step before you move on to the next.
We don't have to check our work now.
No, because we've done those checks as we did one step. Step 1, put our insulators at both ends. Step 2, run the wire. It's like we know that wire was done. Because of that, we actually had a twisted wire down at the end, but because we had been doing our checks all along, we realized that it was just a couple sections back that the twist had happened. We didn't have to undo everything, and we just had to go find that because we knew that every step before it had been done right. We did a whole video on building the fence section, finally, doing all that fence section. Now we're at the finalization stage. So all of our other sections we're going to imagine have been built, and now we're coming back to connect everything together. This is when we're going to connect all 5 wires at the beginning and end of every section. The reason we do that is a few reasons. 1, wires attached in parallel reduce resistance. Wires attached in parallel can run in multiple directions. So let's say that this bottom wire has a particularly conductive weed growing through it. Well, the power will go up to that weed, it'll drain a little bit, but it'll also come the other way so that both sides of that fence are live with enough juice to stop a sheep. And finally, we just do that so that all wires are connected, bringing as much energy as possible in all directions at all times, because we separate all the wires on the fence. Think about it as one wire, your ground is a second wire, and the animal completes the connection.
Zap.
So, connecting these two together. There's a few ways of doing this. For once, Judgy James is going to show you the farm way, because the farm way actually does work very well, and it uses less material, and it's quick and easy. Now, I always like using claw clamps or the L clamps with butterfly on it, no matter what, on the top and bottom. But what I do is I make a large letter C. So we've got our scrap piece here. I'm just going to take a bit of it right here, make a bend, and then I'm going to figure out where my bottom is. It's right there.
Did you just use your beer belly for that?
Correct. You always got to use your beer belly.
And did you see that wire snap back, but it didn't take his eyeball out? Because why, James?
Got my safety glasses on.
Safety
hold
specs.
Hold on. I forgot to put my safety glasses on. So make sure you have enough extra material.
Yeah, you don't want to be nicknamed Pirate.
Yeah, that's it. So, that's why I like my big, large, wide sunglasses. It's hard for stuff to get up underneath and whatnot. So, I've got my letter C. Okay? Now, I'm going to get in trouble with Gallagher for this, but honestly, it's always worked for me, and it's always worked for my customers. So I'm always happy to show this one off. Typically what you would do is you would, at the other end or this end, you'd leave some excess, or you do a tie from here to here, then from here to here. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy. So what I do is I literally just weave this.
And as wool farmers, we know all about weaving.
Yeah. So weave it in the way that it's going to hold, you know, so weave it opposite so that it's touching every wire a whole bunch. So now I'm gonna make a little bend. So pretty much I've made a lightning bolt, and then you need your pliers, or get a hammer.
In my pouch.
Oh, look at that. So you can use your claw of your hammer to hold these two wires together.
Let me get a better angle here, homeboy.
So,
all right.
And then you're just gonna start doing your twists.
Oh, that's slick. You just saved me a lot of screwing around.
Yep. You get your leverage.
Now, does the claw hammer damage the galvanizing of the wire or the
No,
coating?
because you want class 3 galvanization anyways, which is good for rubbing and wear and tear and stuff. Just like all the other times, you just fucking turn it back and it snaps right off.
Boom!
Then I put it in Jakey's pouch. So now with this excess here, I would put a clamp on. We just didn't bring them with us. And then you're gonna do the same thing on the bottom.
Hammer holds.
Yep.
I really like how cleanly that wire comes apart, like the way it breaks. So I really don't like a bunch of eye gougers all around the farm.
Well, not just eye gougers, but like, you know, a sheep can hook themselves on that or anything like that. So you can see right here, it's touching, here it's touching, here it's touching. Now, if you really, really want to have even better connection, just do a loop every.
So the neighbor here to the west has allowed us to put fencing up here as well, which is very, very cool. I just figured, like, get this field done and maybe even get it grazed here in the next couple of weeks while I'm working on the other stuff.
Yeah.
Because we have owned this property here for 25 years and we've never grazed this field.
Really?
Yeah.
Just hay?
Just hay. And even then, a lot of times not, because of that ditch. Like, this is the first year it's ever had a culvert. Small improvements and then big improvements.
All right.
Yeah, you're good.
When you get to the last one, this is the one that I put the most tension on. Now you can, if you're doing all 5 wires at once, tighten this one the most. If you're only doing 1 wire at a time before you put your line posts in, do your bottom one first. It'll give you a nice clean line and the easiest to the ground without you stepping into it and then making it a little bit wobbly. I'll start following the clip. Fuck!
That's definitely on the blooper reel. Leave it to James to find all the things I missed.
Yeah, so see how fucking easily these things tangle? Like, fuck a duck.
Blooper reel.